right, so let's go ahead and get this party started. We are going to do some kind of more detailed, not too detailed introductions in a minute, but I am Tracy McKee. Obviously, we've got Lana Burrell here as well. My husband, Matt Fansler, he will probably jump on at some point, hopefully. If not, Lana and I'll just make some stuff up for him. So, why are you here? Hopefully you are at least thinking about doing a 70.3. Maybe you've already signed up for one. Maybe you've done some. Maybe you've done one, maybe a couple. They didn't go quite as you expected. Maybe they went well, but you want to get faster. Being here for all those reasons is completely legit. And obviously, we have a camp coming up in a few months. So if you are attending our camp, obviously this is for you as well. So why does this matter? 70.3 races are a different animal. If you've been doing sprints and Olympics, 70.3 is different, and it rewards preparation, and not just as Lana's going to talk about, not just one type of preparation. There's lots of things to consider with the 70.3. Hard training. You can train as hard as you want to, but hard training does not always equal smart training. And a lot of mistakes that people make, I'm sure Lana does too. I'm sure we could just spend 5 hours here talking about stories we've heard from athletes who go into 70.3 races, doing things that just are crazy almost. But even some things that don't seem crazy when you do them, but on the flip side, you're like, oh, why did I do that? So we're here to help you avoid making those common mistakes that people make, because they are a lot of the things that people do. They're predictable with the 70.3, and you can fix them with preparation. So here's what we're going to kind of cover. So we'll do some quick intros. Lana's going to walk you through some common mistakes and solutions. We're going to talk a little bit about the camp, what the camp is going to do, what you can expect from the camp, how to prepare for the camp, and then we'll roll into some Q&A. So we've got two of us on here on the screen. So first is Lana. I'm going to let her introduce herself, and then she's going to kind of take over for a little while. So I'll go ahead. I'm Tracy McKee. I'm a level 1 USAT triathlon coach. Been racing for about 25 years. I've done all the distances. I've been around a minute, coaching for about 10 years or so. I'm also a certified running coach as well as a nutrition coach. So I don't want to get too much into my resume. So hopefully I'm going to see, if not most of you, or if not all of you, most of you in April, and you'll learn a lot more about me. So Lana, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Tracy. So I'm Lana Burrell. I own LB Endurance in Knoxville. I have a physical location, LB Endurance Lab, and we focus on performance assessments. So things like VO2 max and, lactate threshold and testing for athletes. We also do one-on-one swim instruction, and we offer swim clinics and camps. And then we also, I coach one-on-one. So I have several athletes that are preparing for triathlons, marathons, all the things. Myself, I've been coaching for about 10 years. I'm USAT level 2, as well as USMS are my current certs. And I've been racing, season 17 for me. So yeah, as Tracy said, we've seen athletes do a lot of things, but I will admit to pretty much everything I'm going to talk about for the mistakes I've done in my own learning journey. And my hope for everyone that I work with is that they don't repeat my mistakes. Please learn from me. All right, I will step into this. So, like Tracy said, 70.3 is a different animal. We talk about short course racing, sprints and Olympics, and then we have long course, which is your half and full Ironmans. And they are kind of two different things. What got you through sprints and Olympics, going hard, maybe kind of fast and loose, just boogieing, pushing, is going to be a recipe for disaster when you step over to long course racing. So We want to make sure that if you're making that transition up, or if you've been maybe struggling at the long course, maybe there's something in there in the transition from short. So the first thing that we see is, simply prioritizing volume over execution. Just saying, well, if the race is, 70.3 is, more than twice as long as Olympics, so I just need to train twice as much. So I need to be able to swim the 2,000 meters. I need to be able to bike 56. I need to be able to run a half marathon. And just simply breaking it up and saying, I just need to be able to do those chunks of volume without really getting into any of the nuances. Will help you get your fitness. Okay, there's no question that's going to help. But if you're going to go through and not do any focus on the technique, on the skills, to be able to swim efficiently and not waste energy, to be able to ride your bike as aerodynamically as possible and smoothly as possible, and also to be able to eat and drink on the bike, and then being able to run the course, no matter if it's hilly, flat, if it's hot, all of those things. So there's a lot of nuance in addition to the volume, because really it comes down to it is you need to get more efficient with the volume that you're going to create, and you need to be able to hold form over those long distances. And the real reality is that when you train for a sprint and Olympic, you could easily cover those training volume, your race volume, you could easily cover those in a training day. When you step up to long course, it's going to be really hard to do, 6, 7, 8 hours of training in a day as preparation for a race. So you have to be more strategic about it than just, I'll just do a lot and hope for the best. The other thing we see is trying to go that it's, I've got to swim, and then I'm going to do a bike, and then I'm going to do a run, and just sort of focusing on each of those by themselves. Again, that's going to be helpful, but considering workout order and how to progress from one to the other, and that's not just doing bricks, that's actually thinking about how the volume and pacing and the actions in one sport will affect your ability to perform the next discipline. Because on race day, you've got to pretty much move from one to the next to the next. And what we see is even the swim not performed well can affect your bike, can affect your run. The swim not perform well can affect your run. Your bike not perform well will affect your run. And there's a saying out there, it's bike for show, run for dough. So a lot of people will go out and win the bike or win the swim, and they're nowhere to be seen on that run course. It's usually someone that, came in and a lot of bikes were already gone, and they're still going to do great on the day. So, considering how to build your training so that you're not just winning each discipline is going to be a more successful than just, trying to make each one perfect. Guessing at fueling and pacing. And again, because you're at a 70.3 for so long, and even the fastest people, who might be around 5 hours, as low as 4.5 maybe in our amateur age groupers. And there's people even quicker than that. The reality is most people are going to be in that, probably for your first one, 6 to 7 hour range, could be even longer. Either way, it's going to be a very long day, longer than doing a standalone marathon perhaps. So the fueling and the pacing and managing your energy matters so much. So if we don't get this right, what it looks like is that you don't consider using the aid stations. You try to carry everything with you, or you show up at the aid station and you treat it like a farmer's market, and you just sort of stand there and look at all the options and try all the things, and who knows what might work, and you just have no idea. You wait to eat and drink until you get hungry or thirsty, or you swim furiously. You bike to try to make up time and get back in the race and not be left behind, or you're trying to race by somebody else who's going faster than you. You end up bonking, and then you walk most of the run, even though you could run a half marathon a week before. So that's what we see when fueling and pacing are not matched. So got to learn and practice that, pacing really drives your fueling needs. So if you want to be able to pace faster, not only do you have to have the skill that we talked about in the first mistake, you also have to have the fuel to support it. If you get dehydrated, your power is going to go down. As little as a 2% loss in body hydration will impact power output. And that will not only affect you on the bike, it'll affect you on the run as well. And finally, intensity and duration, they both will have an impact on your energy levels in a way that your GI may be affected. So your digestive tract and your ability to digest and take in those very necessary calories, and also your cognitive function. So if you don't get it right, and that's what bonking is, and I don't know if anybody had the pleasure of bonking in a 70.3, but often you don't even know what's happening. And it takes other people to maybe you should eat something, and you don't even know that that's good advice at the time. So fueling and pacing is no place to be guessing it and trying to figure it out or hoping. Again, you might get away with it on a sprint or an Olympic, but when you go to long course and a half, it's going to make a very long day of struggle. If it's a full, you might not finish if you don't get this right. And for many people, the half is a stepping stone to a full. So this is a good time to practice and get it right here. The fourth biggest issue we see is downplaying the logistics and the mindset. These days, there's not many half Ironmans. Obviously, Ironman itself has a lot of these 70.3 distance races. There's a few independents, which makes them usually very big events. So when you go to a half Ironman, let's say you're preparing for Chattanooga, there's going to be 3,500 athletes on the course with you. And all their friends and family there, okay? It's a very popular spectator-friendly race. So when you show up, the transition area is a football field, and you've got a schedule to make and things to do, and you've got to be here at this time, and you got to check your bike at this time, and you got to get on the bus at this time, and you got to pick this up and put this sticker here, and you have to have it on before you go into transition. There's so many things that you don't encounter at a small race that suddenly you end up forgetting things. You're scrambling around, you're calling everybody the day before the race, you're panicking, you're worrying. And you know what? Not only is it not fun, but you just waste so much energy and create so much stress when you've been training months, and then you get to that weekend and you realize, you know what the hell is going on. And you don't have the capacity to deal with something that changes, like they suddenly announce that, hey guys, there's no wetsuits. And you've been planning all along to have a wetsuit. Okay. Some people are going to go, okay, no big deal. And you're going to look at them like, wait, what? So we got to make sure that we put some energy into planning and preparing on something that's not even to do with the actual training, but it's just making sure that you're able to deal with all the stimulus and still have your wits about you so you can deal with all the other things that are going to happen. Because we guarantee something's going to go wrong. We just don't know what. And it's not an if, it's definitely a when. So what can we do about this? How do you avoid these mistakes? Again, this, it's kind of bucketing a lot of little things into these four main buckets. The first place to look is look at your training plan. Following something that's progressive, obviously sort of building you up, building the fitness, but also building in opportunities to practice fueling and pacing, to practice the transitions, to practice the loading. Again, so structured workouts, so not just swim 2,000 yards. Okay, probably something with a little more, structure to it to help you learn something out of it. And also, specific, so that it's not, again, ride 3 hours. Sometimes that might be appropriate, but more often we get a lot better results when we are doing things that are set up for us to build the areas that we need. So working on swim technique, that might mean you might be a great swimmer, you might be good with that. Many new triathletes struggle with swimming, and even some of us, I didn't really get my swimming down until about 7-8 years into the sport. And even now, I'm still trying to get better at it. So working on that, making sure you can operate your bike, making sure it's well fit and that you have a great position on it is something you can work into every single training session. Okay, I come also from this kind of swim coaching side where it's like the kids would always ask us in middle school swim practice, they'd be like, when are we going to work on turns? And I'm like, you literally hit the wall every 30 seconds. You can work on your turns every 30 seconds. So starting to see training as an opportunity to work on all of these things rather than just getting the miles in. Practicing fueling during your training always can be done anything longer than 90 minutes. great rule of thumb to start. And also knowing what you need to work on. If you are a team sport athlete, or maybe you're a sprint specialist or a mountain bike racer, you're probably going to need a lot of zone 2. Okay. If you came from the other side of it, or maybe you were a marathoner and you never really did, a lot of hill things like that, you may need some more sprint development, some anaerobic development. So trying to find workouts that are going to give you the push in the right direction. Your training also needs to fit your real life, of course, and you need to balance load and recovery. So all of the things that we talked about, the 4 mistakes, each of those have kind of specific solutions, but you do need to kind of work it into a training plan. So making sure your training plan is solid and is going to prepare you for more than just volume is kind of the biggest piece to work on. The second way you can kind of work on these things, let's say your training is going okay and you're not really sure if you've got it all together. Another thing you can do is what we call big training weekend. There's a lot of different names for this, but you might be able to fit maybe 2 to 3 in a preparation cycle. I wouldn't do one of these more than maybe once a month. And some athletes, just logistically, you only have time to do it once. But the characteristic of a big training weekend, and you can put one of these together, have done them, have programmed them for people. Basically, it's typically high volume, and it doesn't mean you can do it this way. You can do a long swim, a long bike, and a long run, okay? Or maybe it's a long, after the bike, you do a short brick just to get a little brick work in. That's one way to do it. You can also, over the course of 3 to 4 days, maybe even a week, you could work in sort of a high volume, very big focused week and structure it so that you don't have to necessarily do 60 miles of biking, but maybe you can do a 40 mile and a 20 mile and have some purpose with each one of those and work in some run in between those. So in aggregate, though, it's a pretty high volume. There's a strategic sequence to it. So you're kind of building in, you're working on skill when you're tired. In the right areas. So that might make sense working on running on tired legs, but it might not make sense to practice swim skills after speed work on the run, for instance. So being very strategic about the training sequences. And also you are trying to create fatigue and then also trying to balance and manage it. So you've got to work in recovery periods. So over this 3 or 4 day period, making sure that you're getting enough rest to be able to still have enough quality into the next sessions. You also want to pick your race terrain and conditions as close as you can to what's going to help you. That means, let's say you're doing something like Chattanooga, you're going to want something hilly. Let's say you're doing something like Florida. You're going to want more flat, maybe exposure to wind. Okay, any flat course, you want wind exposure. Otherwise, get hills, rolling hills. Same with swimming, if you can get into the water that is going to be similar taste, temperature, etc., very helpful. And you'll also in this weekend want to practice your fueling plan, practicing your meals, not only your pre-day meals, maybe some carb loading a little bit coming into that big weekend, and then also your recovery meals. Practice with your gear, make sure it's your race bike that you're using, your race shoes, try out your kit, make sure nothing chafes, all of that stuff. So it's really some very targeted practice of several things. What this looks like when you put it together, you really want to avoid distractions and any external fatigue. So this is not the same weekend that you're going to renovate the bathroom or do all the spring yard work or host a kid's birthday party. Okay, you want to kind of stay away from that. You don't want to also commit to like having a big work project due or have to go to a conference on Tuesday, when you do this thing on the weekend. So trying to figure out the time in your schedule when you don't have a lot of external stress. You also want to plan ahead for it. Plan the routes that you're going to use. Even lay it out on a schedule. Like, what time am I going to do this? I'm going to get up early in the morning. I need to swim. So if I need to do it at the pool, is there swim lessons all day that I can't get in? So I have to work around that. Make sure the shopping is done. Make sure your meals are prepped ahead of time. Have all the fuel you need. Have your laundry done. Like literally make sure, ladies, you got enough sports bras ready to go. You got enough clean socks. Make sure your bike is ready to rock and roll. And also, make sure that you've got a recovery plan. That might mean some podcasts or some Netflix, but again, not running off to somebody's wedding in the evening in the middle of this big training weekend. So kind of isolating it from everything else can be very, very helpful. And finally, just organizing the training so that you have this optimal loading. So prepping into the weekend to make sure that you are somewhat fresh coming in so you can really absorb this big volume and make sure that fits into your full training schedule. Needless to say, it's a lovely technique, a lovely approach. It does work very well. But it is challenging to bring all those things together. I'm getting overwhelmed thinking about it. I'm like, gosh, how would I fit this into my schedule? So honestly, the cheat code though is really to consider doing something like a training camp. And, that's one of the reasons obviously why we're doing this call is to talk about our camp, because it's kind of, an elegant solution to practicing all of these things, making sure that you are getting the right skill work, that you are building the volume in the correct way, that you are practicing pacing and fueling, and you have coaches' feedback to sort of help you see what works. So honestly, outsource it. We have a camp. There are several camps around, but this can be a great way to plan a weekend. And even if you were to get a few friends together to do a camp on your own, you could also get a few friends together and come join us. So I will turn it now to Matt and Tracy if you guys want to talk a little bit more about our camp. And if you guys have about what I just said, you can put them in the chat or we can address them at the end of the call. I know I kind of buzzed through that.
I've been keeping an eye on the chat and the Q&A, so nothing yet. Everyone's shy still. I have a dog in my lap. I don't know what he's very antsy right now. So he may show his head on the screen. I don't know. Y'all have to bear with me. But I did see Matt come in the house, and I think he's on the call. So Matt, maybe you want to pop on and at least introduce yourself to everyone.
Hey, everybody. Sorry I was late. I got off work a little bit late, and I work kind of far away on icy roads, so I didn't want to rush it too much and get into a car accident or something. But I'm here. My name is Matt Fansler. I don't know how much they told you, but I am the not as good half of the Tracy McKee High Five Endurance coaching team. And I'm a physical therapist and been coaching for about 8 years. I just opened my own practice, but I've been really focusing on treating endurance athletes specifically for like 8 years now. And that's my passion. So, with what I do, I coach as well. And I sort of like try to meld all that stuff together. So we'll talk about it a little bit later, but that could be an option for the camp where, we look at you physically and then we do some follow up with you on the run or the bike or whatever. So it's a good opportunity maybe when we're together for a weekend to kind of be doing all that in one step. So
Awesome. All right. Hope you guys can't hear my dog. He's now barking his head off. But we'll go on through. So Gus is putting in a word or two. So a little bit about the camp. I'm not going to go into too much detail. And of course, Matt, Lana, feel free to please jump in if you think that I'm missing anything critical that I'm going to cover. But obviously, this is a beautiful, if you've never been to Smoky Mountain National Park, number one, if you don't come to our camp, you have to come at some point. It's just beautiful. It's the country's most popular national park for a reason. But from a training perspective, we've got opportunities for finding some flat roads as well as rolling. And of course, there's some very nice big hills to ride as well. So if you're doing a 70.3 that is hilly or rolling even, there's going to be some great courses here in the camp for you to ride. Obviously, Lana was getting stressed out talking about trying to plan a big training weekend. I have done that myself before, and it is challenging to do. So, Lana said there's other camps too. If you've never gone to a camp, even if it's not our camp, I highly encourage you to do it. It's so much fun. And it really does just take you out of your own environment and allows you to just spend the weekend doing some training. It's super fun. You get to make a lot of new friends. It's just a really great experience. You're going to learn and improve triathlon specific skills. You've got 3 of us that are going to be kind of hanging around a lot all weekend, watching, talking about, giving you feedback, personalized feedback as we go through the weekend. And again, like meeting new people who have a passion for triathlon. You're just going to make new friends, and it's super. And we can't wait to make new friends as well. So what is it? It's a 4-day training camp. Yes, we are focusing on the 70.3 distance, but if you've got some other races in mind, again, there's a lot of variability with the courses, so we can really kind of cater it to what you need and what you're looking for. What are you going to get? It's going to be very scheduled. It's going to be some really fun workouts, some challenging workouts. You're going to get a lot of personalized feedback. We're going to talk about skills development. We're going to talk about nutrition, and we're going to give you some recovery guidance as well. Let me see. And the best thing is, sorry, my dog is driving me absolutely crazy.
I can jump in if you want me to.
Can you hear him?
I can hear him. I can hear him like snorting over there. What is he doing?
He's bark, 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 bark. I got it. But yeah, so, we're talking about really taking the time out of your busy lives to really focus on triathlon, sharpen skills. You're going to go into a 70.3 with a lot more confidence, because that's what we're really going to be doing there, is focusing on the 70.3 distance. And you're really going to be prepared to have your best race yet. So we're going to be Thursday to Sunday, April 16th to 19th. We're going to have multiple swims available, pool and open water. So that should be a lot of fun. And I don't know, there's probably another camp like this, but between the 3 of us, you've got Lana, who's a certified swim coach. Matt and I both grew up swimming. So I feel like, people really struggle with swimming. So you've got a lot of swim skill going into this, for us to be helping you with your swimming skills. So I don't know. I think that's pretty great.
I think
so.
I have to point out one of the nice things we plan to use near the camp. It's Augusta Quarry, so it's like, how are we doing open water in April? Temperature wise, it should be like that high 60s, low 70s by then. It actually kind of warms up ahead of what the river does. So definitely wetsuit happy for most people. So we will actually be able to get some open water time. Granted, it won't be in a moving river, and the quarry is kind of a very unique spot to swim. But you'll be able to definitely get some open water time, which is kind of hard to do before this date in many places. So
yeah, that's a really good point. And the quarry is kind of a newly renovated location here in Knoxville, and it's
like
unbelievably.
Yeah,
it is beautiful. So we're going to do some. We'll have a long ride and a long run. Like I said, we'll have some route options for folks to kind of meet your needs. There'll be SAG support for the rides. We're going to do some transition work. And we're actually going to do a brick session as well. We're going to have some educational workshops, and our lodging is pretty cool. Actually, we have to say, we had low expectations going to check it out, and Leah and I were like, "This is perfect. This is great. This is great." So we're kind of excited about that. So there's just a lot of opportunity for people to gather and chat, and just when we're not training or not in a workshop, there'll be really good opportunity for everybody to just hang out and chill and really get to know one another. And it's right in the heart of Townsend. So, super convenient to a lot of stuff. So it's not going to be out in the middle of nowhere, which is really actually pretty nice. We're going to feed you meals and snacks. We'll have some fueling for the weekend as well, and swag. Obviously, I just got a box of goodies from Rudy Project. I meant to have one of those handy, but I forgot. And obviously community, right? Just spending time with folks who are like-minded, and we can talk 70.3 all weekend long. It's going to be fantastic. So I know some of you are already signed up, and we are so excited to see you. If you haven't signed up and it works with your schedule, we would love to see you. And you can go to Smoky Mountain Triathloncamp.com. All the information on the packages are there. You can register at that site as well.
And there's a little more detail there too, if you want to get the whole detailed schedule that is all fleshed out there for you.
Yep. Here's just a couple of snapshots from the lodge where we'll be staying. Let me see some a la carte extras. There we go. So I'm going to let Lana and Matt actually talk about these, and then we'll talk a little bit about getting ready for camp and kind of what's to come.
Yeah. So I'm offering some metabolic testing and swim assessment. So again, two of the specialties at LB Endurance Lab, and depending on where you're coming from, what you're looking for, this is something that you basically would just schedule with me. Basically, I have camp pricing for it, and we can either fit this into the weekend, do it just before the weekend, just after, or however we want to do it. But basically I'll be deeply discounting. There'll be an additional cost, but if you want to do some one-on-one, our swim, the swim camp time in the pool with, at least 3 of us on deck and maybe more, we'll have pretty personalized instruction. You'll come away with a lot of things to work on, but if you want to get some video underwater and see what's going on, that's what I'm set up to do. And as far as metabolic testing, obviously we do VO2 and lactate threshold. I also run the inside metabolic assessment. So if you want to get a real deep dive on what you need as far as your anaerobic and aerobic training, exact pacing, fueling, we can lay out a very detailed plan for your race and even kind of get into expected finish times and what you can do to build up to that. And that's something we can do anytime. So happy to help any of you or talk to you more about it. Go ahead, Matt.
Okay. Yeah. I touched on this a little bit earlier, but, I treat endurance athletes every day in the clinic. And so I have sort of a strength and mobility, assessment I do with people, and it can depend on you and your injury history or goals. If you want to get faster in the pool, we might look at something different than, if you are chronically injured when you're running. So we can cater towards you, or we can do like a whole body thing, but it'll be a specific assessment on your mobility strength that's applicable to whatever you want to focus on, or everything in general. So I think our plan was to do this early in the camp, like maybe first thing. We could probably squeeze it in somewhere throughout the weekend if we need to, but my thought would be go through that. You would get personalized correctives. Just means like whatever we find, we're going to give you stuff to fix it. So whether it's, you're lacking mobility somewhere, we need to give you some stretches to do, or give you some specific strength work for a specific muscle that's weak, or even if it's a cue when it comes to running, like that's something I do every day in the clinic, just giving you little things to work on. And the good thing about this opportunity, kind of like what I was saying before, I think, is that we'll be spending all weekend together. So if I meet you once and you have follow-up questions, we can do that. And then I can also see you while you're out running or riding, or obviously in the pool, we'll be working a lot on that. So I might know that, your neck is really stiff. And then when I watch you swim, I'm like, oh, okay, that's why this is showing up in your stroke. And maybe we can figure out a way to fix that with a stretch or a drill in the pool or whatever. So that's sort of how I see this working. I'll be doing a discounted price for that too, and we can kind of discuss that. If you want more information, just reach out. But we can do it several ways. I usually do running on the treadmill, but we can do it outside. I've got a really easy like roller trainer that we can pop your bike on to kind of get a specific look at you on the bike if we want to do that. And then obviously in the pool will be a great way to kind of to get a good view of you swimming. And if Lana's doing like video assessment, that can help too. So.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Just to reiterate, we're talking about, we'd like to do those for the obvious reason that those guys talked about on Thursday, kind of leading into camp. And so that way they've got eyes on you then the rest of the weekend. So be thinking about that. And we will, obviously, if you're interested, go ahead and reach out to us about that. We'll talk to you, but we'll also put something on the website so you can kind of reach out. And we're still working on how we can schedule these. So but don't let that hold you back from reaching out if you're interested in doing one of those things. So I know some of you are already signed up for camp, which is great. Again, we're so excited. And if you're, maybe nervous about whether maybe you're not signed up and you're just nervous that, oh gosh, I can't be ready for a camp that's focusing on 70.3. Don't worry. We have a Training Peaks 10-week camp preparation plan. It's free. You can just download it into your Training Peaks and it'll be all there for you. And it starts on February 9th. It's going to have swim, bike, run, and strength workouts for you to follow. So we're also going to have another kind of pre-camp webinar, maybe three weeks prior to camp. If you are attending camp and you have not submitted the pre-camp survey yet, please make sure you take the time to do that. That just helps us gather a little more information for our planning. Yeah, and again, we want to know more about who's coming so that we can really cater to what you want to get out of it and what everyone's needs are. I think I had one other thought, but it left me. So let's go ahead and I'll remember it in a minute probably. Let's go ahead. I'm going to invite, obviously, Matt, Lana to clean up anything I missed, pop in. But are there any questions? I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to go ahead and roll this out. Those of you that have not signed up for the camp and you would like to come, if you register before midnight tomorrow, you can get $100 off by using Smoky's webinar 100 when you register. So with that, any questions?
Pull up the screen so we can see everybody here.
Share. Stop presenting. So one question I know that I saw that had come up from folks is, I know there's some local people who are maybe slightly interested in coming, but they're, maybe not wanting to spend the night because it is kind of, close-ish to Knoxville, and they can drive out every day. But what our hesitancy to give a big discount for that type of attendance is we really want it to be a weekend about creating some real camaraderie amongst the folks that are there. If you've ever attended a camp before, you can imagine how kind of maybe disruptive is probably a little strong, but it kind of throws things off when people are kind of bouncing in and out. And we really want to make it a fun, kind of group. We all spend the weekend together and really get to bond and get to know each other and really understand each other's goals and everything. So, so that's why we're not really looking to do that.
Let me add to that. The other thing,
ahead.
just like I mentioned, it's like if you're going to plan a weekend and you want to do your training, you're going to be running home. all the distractions that are at home, all the distractions. Like it doesn't even, you think, oh, it's not a distraction. I'm just going to do a little laundry, or, I'm just going to call my mom, or, like all of those things, or the kids have something going on. And it's like, yeah, not to mention, like you said, at the camp, like we actually have downtime scheduled, so it's like, we're going to come back, we're going to ride, might come back, go swim. You'll have a little bit of time before we, hook back up for lunch and our workshop. So having your room to go back to and just relax, or go, lay on the grass or hang out in the gazebo. I mean, there's really a lot of cool spaces at the resort. So we have that built in, and we have it so that you have kind of this space where you can really think about and make sure that you are able to ask us the questions and let us help you with whatever you need, because we're all going to be accessible and not like, oh, I got to wait till so-and-so shows back up. Nah, we're just going to keep you all there, but it's super fun. All right. And I am working, I have the plan ready to upload for everybody, the 10-week training plan. And if you are working with a coach in the interim, happy to still provide that if that's something that, or help, if your coach has questions about the camp, we're happy to answer those to help make sure that you're coached up and ready to go for the camp, and it's going to fit into your training plan. We don't want to derail what you've already been working on. But we can also, like I said, it'll be scaled. There'll be scaling instructions within the workouts, depending on what your goals are. And if you're already coached, some of the athletes I know in here are either coached by Matt and Tracy or by myself. We'll be making sure that you're getting prepped for the camp, obviously, without having to use that plan. But if you don't have someone doing that for you, that's what the plan is for, so that you show up and not feel intimidated that you're not going to be able to keep up.